Hi, it's the Lipstick Gal. Thank you so much for watching today. So today I'm doing a get ready with me and I'm using all of the things that I got, well, the makeup things that I got in my Beautylish Lucky Bag for 2022. If you want to see that unboxing, I will link it for you here and in the description box down below. I am going to start with foundation and I'm going to be using the Units 304 from their Orange series. I got their entire face set. So we're going to be using those today and I'm kind of trying to, what do I want to do? I think I'll just reach into, I'm still trying to form a good, been using it for a while. Here's what I think about the new Charlotte Tilbury Beautiful Skin Foundation. I think I'm going to dab it on. My concern is if I, pick it up with the brush and then start blending it in, I'm just gonna fill up all of the bristles just full of product. So I'm gonna take a minute and distribute this around the face. I know I look pretty fantastic, don't I? Paging the crease lady, right here, right here. Let's see how this brush does. So I've never been curious enough to want to pick up any brushes from the Units brand. And I don't know, am I remembering correctly that they are a brand that is created by Beautylish? Like Beautylish has their Good Molecules line. I don't know. And I haven't even, and this is where I'll tell you, I remember seeing people unbox brush sets and I think they were all synthetic. But does Units make a natural hair brush line? I'm curious about that. The one thing I will tell you is my favorite part of the Beautylish Lucky Bags since I started getting it, I don't remember if my first one was 6 or 7 years ago, I don't remember, is the brushes that I get. I always end up getting, and up to this point it's been a Wayne Goss or a Sonia G brush. And I have fallen in love with the brushes. I used to be uncomfortable buying brushes because they were so expensive, and I would use brushes that came in things like Ipsy or BoxyCharm, or get a really inexpensive e.l.f. brush. And I think the one thing that I have learned, of course, you have to do what works best for your budget. But if you have the money, sometimes this turns a product into best product ever. It's a good product and then you use the right brush and the brush is like a magic wand. It completely transforms it. So I really like having good brushes, and I don't know that I would say I have a lot of favorite synthetic brushes. Most of my favorite brushes that I reach for daily, and many of them are right here, are all natural hair brushes. They're a mix of Sonia G and Wayne Goss, and they're my faves. Now don't get me wrong, I do have a lot of synthetic brushes right here. That's not even my entire makeup brush collection. Those are just the ones I reach for regularly. Or if I am worried that I'm gonna, I need a clean brush, I'll grab, I have a whole drawer full of brushes. But I really do prefer natural hair brushes. This looks beautiful. Okay, first of all, I do like this foundation. I do like the way it's been looking as I blend it in. But let me tell you, I'm not seeing a single brush mark. I didn't blend very well here. I feel like it's a really good foundation brush. Well, okay, hello. My favorite to this point has been the Love is the Foundation from It Cosmetics. I have 2 of those, but I like this one. This one's really nice. I'm gonna take a minute to finish my corrector and my concealer. I will list down below what I'm using on my face today if I don't have every aspect of this get ready with me in here. I thought we'd just focus mainly on the new products that I got. This is a 302. This is supposed to be the powder brush. I'm going to use a little bit of my Glossier Wowder with this. The one thing I'll tell you is the foundation brush, I did get a lot of product in there, and I feel like I used it for concealer as well. I just kind of used it everywhere, but I feel like there's a good chance that I'm gonna need to wash it before I use it again. There are some brushes, and maybe you should wash it in between each time you use it. This is where I admit that I don't do that. I wash my brushes once a week. I feel like there are some brushes that absorb a lot of product, and as you go through the week, foundation application gets less and less precise and it starts to look a little bit like ugh. But I feel like other ones don't have that problem. I don't know. And I've had brushes in the past, especially the ones that look a little bit more flat and like a cat's paw, that you need to actually really wash them in between each time because they absorb so much foundation that if you don't, you're just streaking after that. The first application is good and after that it's like, ugh. But I don't have a ton of foundation brushes, and which is why I prefer something like this. This I'm able to, you know, use all week long if I want to on the days I'm wearing foundation. And this is also where I admit that I don't wear foundation every day. But I feel like it does better, you know, getting washed once a week, where some other ones don't. They need to be washed after every use. This is super soft and fluffy. I like the way that it's kind of spreading powder. I don't feel like I'm getting a ton just kind of everywhere. I do feel like I would prefer a smaller brush like this. I'm going to use this for something else later, but right now I'm going to pick up a little bit of powder and make sure I go back and forth underneath my eyes. The reason I go back and forth, I didn't used to have to do this, but I have little fine lines and crinkles, and I find if I go one way, sometimes the skin starts to bunch up, and there are places where I don't set the concealer. So this makes sure I'm kind of getting skin going one way, and if it's a little bit mobile, going the other way as well. I'm going to use, oh, it has a cat. How does it have a cat hair on it already? I don't know. I haven't even had it for 24 hours. It already has cat hair. Okay, I'm going to use the 303. I'm going to go into this contour shade. This is my favorite contour, and that's what this brush is meant to be for. I like that, well, the brush feels nice. I also feel like this shade is, you know, the perfect shade for my skin tone, where it's a little bit cool, but it's not too deep. I'm just using whatever is left on the brush, just kind of around the perimeter here. And I'm gonna pick up a little bit extra right underneath my chin. Do you ever do that? I feel like the older I get, the more I lose elasticity here, and the more I'm trying to visually trick people. No, the skin beneath my chin is not sagging. It is. That's okay. I love the way these brushes feel on my skin. They feel so good. Oh, love. All right, so now let's get out the big bad boy here. This is the 301. This is meant for bronzer. So I'm gonna pick up a light layer. I don't wanna pick up too much. I've got a really light blush I'm wearing today, and I don't want this to overpower it. If you tend to prefer synthetic brushes, I think you would really like these. These feel so soft. Like, I was oohing and eyeing over them when I was doing my unboxing the other night, and I'll just tell you, they feel so good on the face. Like, when I was touching them this way, I remember likening them to like a newborn animal or a newborn baby's downy head. And yes, that's what they feel like, but I feel like even on the skin, it's like little feathers, just like little baby angel kisses. It's so soft. I really like these. I happen to get this Surratt Artistique blush, and this is the shade Duchesse. It's very, very light. I am going to just pick it up with this small, this is supposed to be for cheek products. It says highlight or cheek products. And I am gonna see if I can get, oh, it is, you can see it, okay. I was worried it was gonna be even too pale for me, and I don't think it is. I think it's actually really pretty. I will tell you, I am normally like clown territory when it comes to blush. Being raised in the 80s, I loved all that, really, and here I am doing it. Really high drapey blush, but really impactful, like boom, hot pink. I remember that, and that definitely is one of my favorite childhood makeup memories. But I do realize that I look more attractive with a less intense blush, so this shade is perfect. I like that this is finely milled. I like that it's a satin blush. I'm not getting a completely flat matte look here. It is, I feel like I keep going back and I'm, you know, trying to get more, but that's the 80s gal in me that wants like more pigment, more pigment. And that's how I end up in the clown territory. So the last thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull out the 305 blush, and I'm gonna use it just for highlight. And this is the Weightless Veil Blush Palette in Coral Rose. And this is the highlight shade in there. This is probably one of my favorite highlights in my entire collection. Oh, so pretty. So I'm using this blush for highlight today because I feel like it's very similar in shape to one of my favorite brushes. And it's the first brush I ever got from Beautylish in their Lucky Bag. I think it was it this or the number 2? But it was the Wayne Goss airbrush. I don't know if it was year number 1 or year number 2, but this has been forever designated solely just for highlight. I like that it has kind of like a little tapered tip here. I'm definitely getting that from this as well. I feel like, and it could be that this one hasn't been washed yet, but Wayne's brush seems a little bit like thicker in the middle, a little chunkier. This guy's a little bit thinner. And just a little bit smaller overall. My goal is to see if I can get, I feel like my highlight is a little powdery and sitting on the top. So what I do is I'll take this brush, place it, flip it to the other side and buff it in. So I placed with this side, I'm gonna flip it to the other side and buff it in and see if I can get a very similar look. I think it's looking better, but I feel like I get a better immediate application where my highlight looks less frosty and less sitting on top of the skin when I use the one from Wayne. All right, base looks pretty good. I'm gonna throw in some eyebrows and I'll be right back. Time to jump into the Zendo palette from Natasha Denona. My goal today is to use both warm and cool tones. So I'm gonna start with this kind of mid-tone brown here in the middle called Balance. I'm gonna pick a little bit of that up and just put it here in the crease lightly and give it a little blend. It's been a long time since I've reached for a Natasha Denona palette. I don't have that many. I have one of her 5 pans. I have the number 2 in the 5, and then I have the Metropolis palette, and I think that's it. I used to have one of her limited edition holiday palettes. I think it was the Mars palette that came out like 5 years ago, and I didn't like it, so I decluttered it. And I think for me it was the mix of really warms, like almost reds, and then a really bright icy blue that made me uncomfortable, especially at the time. I feel like I have more skills in the eyeshadow department than I did when I first got that palette, and would probably use it differently now. But I feel like I'm able to confidently decide to do warm and cool and make it work today. Hold me to that, warm and cool. I'm gonna go into this shade right here. This one is called Zeal. Not gonna use a ton of it, just a little bit. Nemesis. Cat hair is my nemesis, and I always end up with it on my brushes. My cat, I'm sure, like walks all over the front of my makeup table and just like rubs up against everything. So now that we don't have any cat hair, I'm gonna put a little bit of this on the outside edge. Not a lot, just a little. I feel sometimes like when I pick up too much of a color in a brush, I, plop a little on one side, share it with the other, and then I have to go back and forth to blend. I think I'll use this shade right here. This one's called Tranquil. If you're curious, it's this one right here. I'm gonna use that on the lid. I'm just gonna use the same brush, the opposite side of it, where I've been picking up some of those darker colors. And I'm just gonna put this on the inside here. I need a little balance in the lower lash line. I'm gonna pick up that first shade and I'm gonna run it right underneath. This is that mid-tone brown called Balance. Oh, that's a lot. Danger, danger. I would love to know if you have any tricks for when you get a little bit too much eyeshadow in one's face, like I just did right here. Got a little more than I intended to on the bottom side here. I feel like I'm gonna have to even the other side out just to give myself just a little bit more. And then I'm gonna buff it with a slightly larger, but still smallish brush. I'm also gonna bring in a little bit of this dark kind of olivey shade here, just along the outside third of my lash on the bottom. I'm trying to decide which one of these cooler shades I want to put on the lid. I don't know. Should I do this one? This one's called Flow. Ooh, this one. This one's called Equilibrium. I'm not going to use a ton of it. I'm just going to lightly plop it on and blend it out. Oh, that's fun. I know it looks a little messy now. I'm gonna use a small fluffy brush and just kind of blend. I will tell you that I got a little bit of fallout from this shade right here. I think that's because I had too much on my finger and was patting it on, but we'll see. I don't know if this is the most successful look, but I told you I was going to use warm and cool. I feel like I need a little bit of that dark shade in Zeal, this one right here on the outside edge, just a little bit more of that right here. I'm going to do that to the other side as well. blend it into that blue. You know what I forgot? I was gonna do a look that I could incorporate this into. You know what? Let's just throw some on and see what happens. Cross your fingers with me. This is a liquid going over the top of powder that I don't mess it up. So here's what I'm gonna do. I just rolled some off onto the back of my hand. I'm gonna take a small brush like this, pick up a little bit of this, and kind of, tap it on just right here. I'm gonna throw on some mascara and some liner, and I'll be right back. I feel like the eye look turned out pretty good. It's not what I would normally do. I would normally stick to either the warm side of the palette or the cool side of the palette, and probably, knowing me, the warm side of the palette. But I feel like this combo of, you know, the blues with the warm tones, very, very doable. There's a lot of palettes that have this kind of color story. If you don't have this Zendo, pull out some cool shadows, pull out some warm shadows, and start mixing and playing. If you're looking at the palette, these are what the swatches look like. I didn't want to do swatches that were too big because I wanted you to see them side by side. I feel like the mint green that's at the end here is a little bit, and it could be that it's really pale shade and it's hard to see because I have pale skin. I felt the same way about this peach shade here, which is kind of center of the bottom row. I felt like the mint and that peach really needed some building up. But I feel like the rest of these are gorgeous. I felt like this green here and this brown here had kind of almost like that cream formula. They definitely had a different feel when I was putting my finger in the pan. I feel like it's actually a gorgeous palette. It wouldn't be the first thing that I would have gone to the store, looked at all the Natasha Denona ones and picked this, but I feel like it's gonna give me some beautiful looks. And I think there are gonna be some shades in here that really lend themselves to beautiful one shadow looks or two shadow looks. So I got one of the Wayne Goss liners, the Essential Lip Liner. This is Natural Berry. I have so many of his, I think I have 4 shades. My favorite thing about this pencil is that it is a little bit stiffer, and I can sharpen it to like a sharp, sharp point and then draw in like right at the edge here so perfectly and really perfect my lip line. I feel like some of the other formulas that I have that tend to be more of like a gel texture and glide really, really well, those tend to get dull really quickly. This one still has a pretty nice little point on it, but it is firmer. I wouldn't want you to, you know, get one of these. I like it that it's firm. I wouldn't say that it's hard, because it's not hard. It doesn't drag, it doesn't tug. It does, you know, glide nicely. But I like the formulation of this. Just those little spots where my lip line is not as defined as it used to be. As I age, I'm losing volume, and this helps to kind of pretend I still have a lip line. The other thing that came in my box, and I already had, was this. This is the Wayne Goss High Shine Lip Gloss in the shade Cherry Blossom. I love this lip gloss. So I have the other one put to the side. I'm gonna either put it in a giveaway or share it with a friend. It's such a beautiful formula though. It is a little bit more peach than the liner, but I think they'll play well together. I do like this eye look. It's definitely outside of my regular comfort zone. I normally wouldn't use warm and cool tones together. I'd go one or the other, but I think that it's fun. I think it looks really pretty, and it's a great way to test drive a few more of these shades, you know, the first time trying them. I definitely want to do something that's a little bit more pastel with the green or the peach and see where things land. This, I can almost hardly see it at all. I don't know, and I feel like I've really been like scrubbing in here. Maybe I need a different brush. I don't know, but I feel like it could also be that this is the blush to wear when you're not wearing bronzer, because that bronzer from Wayne Goss, although I don't feel like it's really, really deep, it does have a warm peachy tone to it on the skin if I wear it really sheer. If I build it up, you could definitely get that bronzy look from it, but I feel like I'm having a hard time seeing this. That's where I remind myself that I don't always have to look like an 80s blush gal. I don't, but I like it. So maybe I think the formula would be nice. If it was a slightly deeper shade, I might see it more. But this is where I tell you that I'm the second to lightest shade in Estee Lauder's Double Wear. I wear the lightest shade in this foundation from Charlotte Tilbury. Usually the lightest or second to lightest shade, depending on how large the shade range is. And if you can hardly see it on me, if you have this shade in Duchesse, tell me how you use it. I would love to know, because I feel like I need a little more punch from it and I'm not getting it. I love the lip products. I've always loved the lip products. I feel like, oh, the other thing that I didn't actually use was this. Here are the two products that I got that I already have. I'm putting them to the side. So one was the lip gloss from Goss and Cherry Blossom, and the other is the Petit Four in Lapis. So if you want to see, you know, some quick swatches of this, these are beautiful. I have a review try on of all four of these Petit Fours for the holidays. I will link it for you here and in the description box below, but I'll tell you, I use these two shades all the time. I do use this. This one I like best when I take the time kind of to blend it out a little bit, where it's a little bit more like this and not so much like this. But remember, I am blue averse. It's intimidating color to me, but I do love the formulation, and these guys are just absolutely, I mean, they're stunning. They're just so beautiful. So there you go. That's all the makeup that I got in my lucky bag for this year. I would love to know, did you get a lucky bag? Have you been trying products, liking them? What's the best part about the lucky bag? I think for me, it's kind of like the rolling the dice. What am I gonna get? Sometimes I'm super impressed with what I get. Like, I was so happy to get these. I knew that I liked this, and I got a shade that I didn't already have. And then there's the aspect of, what did I get that I normally wouldn't purchase for myself? This, for sure. Both of the skincare products that I got. I have been looking at these Sarot blushes, but I would not have picked this shade. And I am curious if it's worth $32. I don't know, I guess I'll need to continue playing with it and report back. But let me know, do you ever get the Beautylish Lucky Bag? Do you get the regular size or the extra large? Or are you just not the sort of person who likes the potential, what if I don't like it? And I spent all of this money. Because I understand that too. For years, I didn't do mystery bags at all when it came to makeup, because I didn't want it to be full of stuff that I wasn't going to use. For me though, I feel like, since I do purchase from Beautylish regularly, since I do feel like they carry brands that I am interested in, I think that rolling the dice here is better for me than getting a mystery bag from another beauty subscription service like Ipsy or BoxyCharm or Birchbox, because I used to do those as well, and I feel like I've kind of outgrown them. This is the one mystery box that I'm still willing to spring for year after year. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a remarkable day, and I will see you again soon. Bye.